Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us on episode 69 of Health Talk with Dr. Kell. I'm Nikki Sterner, and today we're in part two of a series that dives into the 20 reasons why I can't lose weight. In part one, podcast 68, we discussed things that may be contributing to your inability to lose weight, such as your exercise habits and calorie consumption. This week, we're continuing the discussion. Could it be a medical condition, an addiction, too much of something, not enough of another? Welcome, everybody, to Health Talk with Dr. Kell. I'm Nikki Sterner, and today we are doing podcast 69, which is a continuation of last week, where we talked about 20 reasons why I can't lose weight. Welcome to the show, Dr. Kell.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, everybody.
Before we get started and jump back into that, I wanted to share a couple quotes. And the first one is, if cauliflower can become pizza, then you, my friend, can do anything. That is number one. And my second quote, these are inspirational ones today. It's not about perfect. It's about effort. And when you bring that effort every single day, that's where transformation happens. And that's by Jillian Michaels, whom a lot of people may know from the weight loss show on TV. She's pretty hardcore.
Very good. Very good. Thanks for
Yes.
sharing those. Do you like pizza?
I do. I love pizza.
Yeah, pizza's terrible for us.
Oh, so good. But
It
so
is.
bad.
Everybody loves it. I mean, think about all the pizza places there are out there. It is tasty.
Yeah.
Everybody likes it, but it is not good for us. A lot of fat and a lot of carbs. And, fat in that cheese, you're getting some protein there, but I hate to admit this, but in the past, years past, when I've done the low-carb diets, mostly the kind of an Atkins-style diet, not so much the keto diet, but probably eat it on the keto diet too, is when you eat a pizza, just eat what's on top and don't eat the bread. And so I would do that, and I think I've mentioned that before, where everybody get mad at me because I'd eat the top and throw away the bread, and they're like, "You're wasting the pizza." And I'm like, "Here, you want to eat the bread? Go ahead." But it worked, actually. I mean, I hate to admit it. I'd sit there and get one of those pizzas at Little Caesars for $5. I think they're like $6 now, or more. But I don't know. I haven't bought any in a long time. But I'd sit there and buy the pizza and just eat all the toppings and throw all the bread away, and I would lose weight. Not a healthy way to do it, but it worked.
Yeah. And you didn't crave like even a bite of the crust?
Oh, in the beginning, sure.
the
Yeah, you look at it and go, oh, especially the crispy part. I like the outside part the best,
Yeah.
because it's kind of crispy and chewy at the same time.
The crust. Yeah.
Yeah, just talking about it makes me crave a piece right now.
I know. And the bad thing about pizza is, like, speaking of crust, I like to dip my crust in ranch, which is
Yeah.
more fattening than anything. So not good.
Yeah, they got all the sauces, and then of course if you buy the crazy bread, or a lot of pizza places buy the little pizza or the breadsticks with the pizza, which is pretty much the dough just cooked. So
Yeah.
and then you dip that in although the tomato sauce is not as high in calories, but they have other sauces now that are really boosted up too. And again, 90% fat and carbs. So you're just your body's loving that. You're storing up your fuel. And I like to think about the body kind of like a car, where the car doesn't get fat necessarily, but you're storing fuel, and your body stores it, and will store it for you because it thinks you want to store it. So you got to teach it that you don't need the extra tank, you don't need the reserve.
Yeah.
And maybe
I
there
like
were.
to pair a salad with the pizza. I like to think
Oh,
that
there you
helps
go.
a little bit.
Makes you think it's okay if you have the salad
Yeah.
with it.
Like,
But yeah, that's definitely a plus, right?
makes me feel better.
Right. I get it. See, okay, so we're going through the 20 ways, right? Why I can't lose weight. And we made it through number 9 in the last podcast, and now we're talking about number 10. You're not sleeping well. Boy, I tell you, I think sleep is one of the biggest reasons people don't lose weight, their lack of sleep. And you mentioned how you would come home after. Mention again, what were you doing in Vegas?
I was a bevertiner, so I
What
would,
is that? What is a bevertiner?
So you would cocktail to a certain area of the casino floor, and then they had stages built throughout the casino floor. And so you were either a singer or a dancer, and you had maybe 4 or 5 different routines that you would get up on stage and perform
Oh,
throughout
wow.
your 8-hour shift. So you'd get up once an hour and perform for the people that you were serving drinks to.
Oh, I don't think I've been to Vegas a few times. I don't think I've ever seen that. That
It's not in every casino.
okay.
This was at the Rio
Oh, wow.
Hotel. Yeah.
Well, sorry I missed it.
I know. That's really sad. And there won't be a next time.
But it sounds like it was not good for you, and you didn't get a lot of sleep. Did you find during those months, or how long did you do it?
I did the graveyard shift for 2 months, and then I switched to the swing shift for 4 more months. Yeah.
So like 6 months.
And then I
Okay.
think I took a little break, and then I think I was there for 9 months total.
Okay. And what was your health like at the end?
Bad. That's why I left, because like the casinos are so smoky, and like my eyes were bloodshot, and my feet were hurting because you had to wear high heels, and just weird hours, and
Weird
just
hours, weird people too, probably, huh?
yeah, I was gonna say it was stressful because sometimes you get you mix alcohol in there, and people money, and they're gambling, and yeah, it's definitely not my place.
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. And you did not get much sleep, or good
No,
sleep. Did you
no.
gain weight?
I mean, I was exercising excessively, so
So you
I
didn't
made
really notice a significant weight gain?
it was a lot more work because I was eating more and I was exercising more, and I probably did put on a little bit of weight,
Yeah.
maybe a few pounds, 5 pounds, maybe.
Well, and you
Yeah,
weren't really supplying yourself. You were active. You were exercising. What were you dancing, or did you sing too?
dancing. Yep.
Dancing. So you were getting exercise. You were not sleeping well, so it couldn't have been good for you physically inside. But you didn't
Right.
really. You burned up the calories because you were exercising on top of the dancing. But you weren't giving the body the new. How old were you when you were doing this?
Oh, I must have been like 22 or 23.
Yeah. See, perfect age. It's amazing when you're younger what your
Yeah.
body can tolerate. And I'm not sure if your diet and exercise was fairly good prior to you entering into that profession, but maybe it was, and so your body was more able to endure it for the time you did.
It's funny you say that because I think I had done like an Atkins diet beforehand because I was doing a pageant right before I auditioned for this job. So I had lost maybe 15 pounds and, was exercising a lot, running a lot. And then I think I probably put a little bit of it back on when I started this job because of the weird hours and the binge eating and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how much protein you were getting, but if you were having a reasonable amount of protein, you may have put on some muscle mass because you were exercising and dancing so much, at least
Hmm.
toning and all that. But anyway,
Yeah.
you weren't sleeping well, and that was the next one on there, not sleeping well.
No.
Your body heals itself while you're sleeping. So you break it down during the day. The foods you take in, if you're getting the right nutrients, then the body utilizes those, heals cells, gets rid of dead cells, reproduces new cells. All that stuff's going on when you sleep. By the way, I tell my son this a lot because he stays up late, especially during the summer, playing video games. The other night he was
Hmm.
up until I woke up and the light was still on at 2:30 in the morning, and he's in high school and he's going out for the football team as a wide receiver. So we're looking forward to watching him play football this year. But I'm like, you know what? And he's not very tall. He's only like, I don't know, between 5'6" and 5'7". But I'm not tall either. I kind of got to about 5'9", and with my low back injuries and motorcycle and car wrecks, I've shrunk down to about 5'8" now. But
Hmm.
you grow when you sleep, and so it's really important for kids, especially in those years, those adolescent years. From the time you're born up until you're into your 20s, people can continue to grow even into their early 20s. I've had other people say they grew more even into their late 20s. But next brother up is the tallest in the family, and he's just at, I think, 6 foot, and that's what my father
Hmm.
was. But most of my sons, my younger sons, got one that's only 5'7", other one that's like 5'8", so, and then another one that's like 5'11". So anyway, my point being in there, sleep is important. That's when your body heals itself. That's when it grows. You need to get that sleep when you're dieting. And if you're not sleeping, don't take melatonin. We've talked about that in the past in melatonin podcasts. So look back at that. Not great for you, but there are better ways to learn how to sleep. And we did several podcasts in the past on sleep. So go back and check those out if you're having problems sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, you're not cutting back on carbohydrates. Some of these kind of overlap that we're talking about, these questions. Again, carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats? If you don't understand those, best to Google that. It'll give you a good explanation as to what the difference in those are. But the carbohydrates are the sugars, and you get simple carbohydrates, which are the sugars, the processed sugars, the where everything's been broken down, re-added to foods, whereas the complex carbohydrates, even the complex carbs, sometimes when you go on a diet, you're like, okay, I'm going to change that diet, I'm going to eat more vegetables, I'm going to do things a little better, but maybe you're still having too much things like good complex carbs like rice, but maybe you're eating white rice instead of brown rice. Or you're not adding the other grains like quinoa and what are some of the other ones, Nikki? Oats and things like oatmeal, other things like that.
I mean, quinoa is one of our favorites, and the rice.
Yeah.
We don't do a ton of grains, though. We really don't.
Okay. Yeah, well, the grains are higher in carbohydrates. So if you're eating a lot of grains, you may be eating too much. And especially if you're eating the simple carbs, you want to get off of those for sure. Again, fruits, apples, grapes, berries. Berries tend to be a little lower unless you're eating a lot of them or putting them in juice. Stay off the fruit juices if you're drinking a lot of juice. I mentioned that previously. Any questions or comments about that one?
No, I think most people know a lot about the cutting back on carbs now just because of the high protein, high fat diets.
Yeah. That's the easiest way to lose weight. But again, if you go back to more just a natural diet where you're just eating the high vegetables, low, still having fruits, grains, etc., like we've talked about, you'll be getting the right combination.
Yeah.
See, you're eating too often. Number 12. There are diets where they tell you to eat 5-6 times a day, right? Small meals 5-6 times a day. And I think those work. And I tend to eat 3 times a day. Sometimes I'll do that where I'll, you do the snacking in between. For many people, they might actually be eating 5 to 6 times a day, but maybe you're eating too much. It takes 1 to 2 hours for the food you put in your stomach to completely digest, especially if you've got more protein in the diet. And adding the meats, fish tends to break down a little faster than chicken and beef. But if you're chewing well, then that can make up the difference. But maybe you're just adding too many calories because you're eating too often. Any comments there?
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying because a lot of times I'll eat too much versus if I were to do smaller meals, it would probably be better. Smaller amounts. Like I should eat half as much as I do probably,
Yeah, makes you feel good. That's a simple fact.
Yeah, you feel better. You feel better. You feel lighter.
Yeah, sometimes you get a little burst of energy. Sometimes you're feeling a little pressed. It can give you a little lift. And we're going to get into that in other questions too. But let's see. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Not drinking enough water. That's an important one too. How much water should you drink a day, Nikki?
Is it 64 ounces?
Well, for years they've said 8 cups. 8 cups, so that adds up to 64 ounces. Right, so that's about a half gallon of water a day. So that's the recommended amount. And spread it out. Drinking water. I always recommend you want to get your acid levels up. Drink some water about half an hour before you eat a meal. Water has a pH of around 7, so in your acid in your gut is around a 3.5. You want to build up the fluid content in there early. So if you drink some water a half hour or so before you eat, it gives your gut time to bring the pH down with adding more acid to it. So when your food hits it, you got plenty in there to digest your food quickly. Drinking water during a meal is not always recommended, although you got to kind of wash things down. But if you're having to really wash things down a lot, you might be not chewing your food enough. But we're going to continue to talk about through the other questions, but not drinking enough water. Consider that, keep track of that, and build a habit of drinking good. The other problem, most people now are drinking filtered water. Filtered water lacks any minerals, so you want to add minerals back into your diet, especially potassium, magnesium, and calcium are big ones, but you want to have the good forms of those minerals. There are a lot of trace minerals added to that, zinc, copper, and others that are all important. So get a good mineral supplement if you're drinking a lot of filtered water. Now, of course, if you're eating the vegetables, the fruits and vegetables and grains like you're supposed to, and berries and all that, you're getting minerals that way too. Okay, next one, number 14, you're drinking too much alcohol. Are you a boozer? Are you an alcoholic?
No, I don't do well with it.
That was a general question to everybody, not just aimed at you, Nikki. I know you're not an alcoholic.
Let me confess.
Anyway, I interrupted what you were saying. What were you saying?
I tried to drink, to have fun for a couple months, and my body kind of shut down. So, nope, I can't do it.
Don't have when you go out to dinner. You don't have that glass of wine or a little beer or anything like that.
No, not. I mean, if I do, sometimes I'll have it like on a holiday, like a special drink. But even then, I just kind of sip on it. I don't usually drink much. What about you, Dr. Cal?
Oh, I haven't drank in many, many years. Part of my religious perspective, as well as alcoholism, is a thing that's common in my family history. So, and plus, I drank in college. Wouldn't say I was a huge drinker. Oddly enough, though, I was a binge drinker. I mean, if I went out to a party, I usually kept drinking and drinking and drinking to the point of making a fool out of myself a lot. And I think back then I got to the point to where it's like, I didn't need this anymore. This is stupid. I don't really like the taste of it. I just do it because I get crazy and everybody else gets crazy and people like to get crazy. And so, but I think that's where people become. Road to being an alcoholic starts typically, unfortunately, in high school and college. Yeah, it's just the path of our society. So anyway, if you're having a hard time losing weight, cut out the alcohol. Mm-hmm. And what happens, the alcohol, interestingly enough, the alcohol is kind of mimicked by the body. It's kind of seen by the body as forms of fat and carbs in a way. So it will add to that whole process. The alcoholic beverages also are generally high in calories. So if you're drinking hard liquor, it doesn't have a lot of calories. But if you're drinking beer and wine, they're typically high in calories. Of course, I got the light beer, things like that. But once again, it's just not good for your system. Hard on the liver, disrupts your function of your liver and other organs. All right, next one, number 15, you're not eating mindfully. Oh, okay, Now we're going to get into the emotional aspect of losing, or why you're not losing weight. And this kind of goes in here. Let's see, I'll just share some comments here in the article. A technique called mindful eating may be one of the world's most powerful weight loss tools. It involves slowing down, eating without distraction, savoring and enjoying each bite, while listening to the natural signals that tell your brain when your body has had enough. It takes about 20 minutes for the signals in your brain from your gut and your intestines, all that, back to your brain to say, I've had enough. I don't need any more food. I'm full. So if you're eating quickly, especially if you're sitting around and eating a big meal, if you're sucking that stuff down as fast as you can because you got a busy life and you got to go, or you got the job where you only got a few minutes to eat and you want to get back to it, it's not good for you. And it's not mindful eating. You're not enjoying your food. You're just guzzling it down and you're not chewing it properly. So it takes longer to digest, sits in your gut longer. Food sitting in your gut longer leads to the acid reflux. Also can lead to the pH not being low enough, which then allows bacteria to grow in your gut, and the bacteria is what feeds on the lining of the gut and can lead to ulcers. So mindful eating. Also, let's see, here's some other things related to that. Here's some tips. Let's see, eat with zero distractions, sitting down at a table with just your food. Eat slowly and chew thoroughly. Try to be aware of the colors, the smells, the flavors, and the textures. When you begin to feel full, drink some water and stop eating. So why does it say there drink a little water at the end? Now, I talked about drinking water before, like a half hour before you eat. Well, if you've eaten all that food, you got a lump of food in there, you've raised the pH because you've just filled your belly with food that has a high, more neutral pH. So by drinking that water, I would say drink a cup, add 8 ounces at least, put it in there at the end. It'll take a few minutes, but the acid, it'll help liquefy the food, make it more diluted. Will dilute the acid initially, but then your body, if everything's working right, will kick in and squirt in more acid into the stomach and then boost and speed up the digestive process. Do you mindfully eat, Nikki? Do you think about your food? Do you look at the color? Do you smell it and appreciate it?
Sometimes I do. I love food. So sometimes I do really taste it and just love it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not all the time.
When you go out to dinner, that's a time probably when I tend to more do that because I'm not in a hurry. But at lunchtime, people get more of a hurry, have less time to do all that. Anyway, consider those things when trying to lose weight. You may just be not eating mindfully and eating slowly. Really, the key to that is eat slowly, chew your food thoroughly. Okay. Let's see, number 16, you have a medical condition that is making things harder. Again, we've talked about this before. I always recommend people, though it's not always easy to do, but doing a blood test, doing a fecal stool sample, checking your gut flora in the stool sample, looking at your, find out you got a thyroid problem or other metabolic issue that's keeping you from losing weight. I notice a lot of people I've heard over the years, I can't lose weight, I have a thyroid problem. And they very well may have, but a lot of people that are excessively overweight just blame it on their thyroid because they think they kind of given up. But you could have a thyroid problem, and eating all the wrong foods can lead to your thyroid not working well, which if you have hypothyroidism, which means your thyroid isn't working well, as opposed to hyperthyroidism, where your metabolism speeds up, and those tend to be the thinner people. Doesn't mean if you're thin or you can't gain weight that you have a hyperthyroidism, but hypothyroidism is common among unhealthy people, or more common. And so you're overweight, not getting much exercise, not getting the right nutrients in your system, and so therefore your organs and systems begin breaking down and not working well, and your thyroid is one of those, which then slows your metabolism even more. You're just not burning the calories, and your body continues to store them, and you store more and more fat and get heavier and heavier.
So isn't that Hashimoto's?
Yeah, one form of it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's one form of the low thyroid. So a lot of women that have breast implants are also on thyroid medication because of the heavy metals and stuff affect their thyroid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a very common. I can't tell you how many people are on thyroid medication.
Yeah, and that's not good for you either.
Even when I worked at a what's the word I'm looking for? Like an alternative healthcare facility that did like natural medicine, they had so many people on the natural thyroid medications.
Now, when you say the natural thyroid medications, what do you mean by that?
Not synthetic. So not synthetic. So
Okay.
There's like Synthroid and other things that people would do from like a regular doctor versus, I can't remember what they were called, but there was natural thyroid.
What they do is they draw out the thyroids from animals, and then give that to humans to supplement something they may be not have enough of.
Yep, I think that's what it was.
Yep. So those things may be helpful. Let's go on to number 17. You have a junk food addiction. Well, this question's kind of repeat, just put it in other words. But again, junk food, processed foods, they make you feel better when you're depressed. Or depressed for a very short period of time, so then you become addicted to those things.
Yep.
This study shows, estimated that roughly 20% of people in North America and Europe have a junk food addiction. I would put that number much higher. I would say it's 60-70% of people have a junk food addiction, especially in the Western world. Let's see here. Number 18, you've been dieting for too long. Okay, so what does that really mean, been dieting for too long? I don't know if I agree with that necessarily, that that's what's causing you from not losing weight, but maybe you've been in your mind on a constant diet, but maybe you've never been really following it.
Yeah.
You're constantly cheating on that diet, or you
Yeah.
go on it for a week or two, and the yo-yo dieting is a big deal, and you've talked about it. I've talked about it. So easy for all of us to do, and they say that's the most unhealthy way for your organ systems in your body, and probably for your brain as well. Because constantly going up and down, up and down, up and down. That's why if you can change, it really, ideally, change your diet to good natural type diet. I don't necessarily agree with veganism or complete vegetarianism. There are good ways to add that protein in and get those nutrients those ways, but I still believe that things like good fish, wild-caught fish, stay away from the farm stuff because of what they feed the fish. You're getting all the good nutrients from things like fish. A little chicken, a little turkey, those things, a little beef now and then, I don't think is bad for you, but to live on that stuff and have it all the time, not healthy. Comments?
Nope. Very
Okay.
similar.
Your expectations are unrealistic. Yeah. Depends on what your goals are. If you're really heavy and you finally decide, I'm going to do this, and you go on a thing like a keto or an Atkins style diet, whether high protein, low fats and carbs, or high fat and some protein and low carbs, doing that in a prolonged way can be very damaging to your system. You can go on those diets without any healthy way, and having unrealistic expectations often puts those people into those diets, and they do them for months on end because they're trying to dump 40, 50, 100 pounds within 6 months or a year. And, it took you years to put it on. It's going to take you years in a healthy way, take you years to get it off. I know nobody wants to hear that, but it's not good for your body to lose it super, super fast. And also, it can be, people do these things and they don't lose the weight as fast as they want to. They get depressed and then they go off it and then they gain more weight, and then they're heavier than they were when they started. And so that emotionally, to me, this question or this comment or this 19th reason is a big one for everybody, because you go into life, and in life in general, when you think about it, we often create these unrealistic expectations of almost everything in our daily life and our short, mid, and long-term goals. We often have too high expectations, and then we don't quite meet them, and then we get depressed, and then it causes us to eat more and just get us fatter. So be realistic in your expectations on what you're doing, no matter what it is. Number 20, last one. You're too focused on dieting. Too focused. That's a good point as well. What does that mean to you, Nikki?
Oh, it's like in one of the previous intros, I mentioned, like, you wake up and you think about food, you go to bed, it's the last thing you think of, like it's like all encompassing. It's too much.
Yes, I agree. Exactly. You're just become obsessed. Losing weight has many benefits. It has health benefits, which is number one from my perspective, improving your health. It has vanity benefits. You want to look good. You want to look for good for whatever kind of partner you want these days. You want to generally feel good about yourself. You want to be able to, that vanity thing, look in the mirror, hey, I look good. There's nothing wrong, I don't think, with feeling like you're happy with yourself. And part of being happy with yourself is being able to look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm happy with myself. The problem is people become, and again with the dieting thing, become obsessed. I don't look good no matter what I do, right? That's not enough weight. Then you become the anorexic person or the bulimic person because you're so obsessed with it. And then you look in the mirror, everybody else is looking at you and go, wow, you look like a skeleton, and you still think you look fat. Again, it can turn into what's considered a form of a disease today. And that is an emotional disease. So being over-focused, again, let's get back to eating right, eating the right foods, drinking the right drinks, getting the right amount of exercise, doing the things that are beneficial to your emotional health. All these things can help lead you to a happier, healthier life. And that's what we're all about here. We want to help you live a happier, healthier life. And so focus on those things, and you can find a balance that will lead to that happier, healthier life.
Yeah, that's a good summary. I was just going to say, I think it's like people get so focused on being perfect and perfectionism. And when we try to be perfect, that's when we fall. So, like you're saying, just be balanced. Don't be perfect, be balanced, and come at it from that perspective. And you can have success that way and feel good about yourself.
Thank you, Nikki. That was great. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Any final comments?
That was a great list. You powered through it like a champ, and it makes sense. It kind of leads back to let's eat fruits, vegetables, meats, and grains, and be balanced and happy, and then you don't have to worry about and stress about being perfect in this specific diet thing or whatever you're trying to focus on. Just overall health.
The next podcast is going to be on the body types. And there are different perspectives on what is a body type and what we can label ourselves as, and those can affect how you lose weight and the ways you can lose weight, and they overlap, and we'll talk more about that next time.
Wonderful. Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks, Dr. Kell.
Thank you, Nikki. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. For questions or comments, please email us at healthtalkwithdrkel@gmail.com. That's DRKELL@gmail.com. You'll find the lowest prices on standard process whole food supplements at holistichealth.standardprocess.com. As always, we recommend you seek nutritional advice from a qualified healthcare professional before starting a supplement program. And for natural and organic health and hygiene products, see our sponsor's website at oceanbaynaturals.com.
While we make every effort to broadcast correct information, we are still learning. We will double-check all facts, but realize that medicine is a constantly changing science and art. One doctor may have a different way of doing things from another. We are simply presenting our views on how to live a healthy lifestyle that will be as evidence-based as possible. We welcome any comments, suggestions, or corrections of errors. We take no money from drug or device companies. By listening to this podcast, you agree not to use this podcast as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others, including but not limited to patients that you are treating. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. This entire disclaimer also applies to any guests or contributors to the podcast. Under no circumstances shall Dr. Kell Fullerton or any guests or any contributors to the podcast or any employees, associates, or affiliates of Dr. Kell Fullerton be responsible for damages arising from use of this podcast. This blog should not be used in any legal capacity whatsoever, including but not limited to establishing standard of care in a legal sense or as a basis of expert witness testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. Our website, blog, and podcasts are all HIPAA compliant. While you may give your email address to subscribe to the website posts or to post information on the website blog, we will never share your email address or contact information with any third parties without your explicit permission. The contents of Health Talk with Dr. Kell podcast and the show notes are all copyrighted. All blog posts, podcasts, and show notes that are distributed to the public for free can be redistributed via hard copy or electronic copy for free only if Health Talk with Dr. Kell is included as the acknowledged author within the actual media that is being redistributed. The Health Talk with Dr. Kell podcast is a production of the Orange Stack, with executive producers Dr. Kell Fullerton and Eric Hammond and host Nikki Sterling.